Man, a lot of y'all gonna be mad about this one, but it is biblical. Let's check it out.
Now, wives, can I talk to you real quick? I need to be gentle but clear. Your temptation at times will be to prioritize your children over your husband. You must never do that. You are not one flesh with your children, even though your children came from your flesh. You are one flesh with your husband and your husband alone. Listen, ladies, a lot of you you need to get this. The best way to be a good parent is to be a great spouse that creates an amazing marriage, and the blessing from the marriage falls down on the children. And ladies, if you've ever done any of the things I'm about to say, listen, there's much grace. I'm failing my way forward too. We're all in this thing together. Not trying to embarrass you, but I need to be specific. Every now and then I'll be out there in that lobby right after a service, and a couple will come up to me, and the wife will be there with the husband. I'll reach forward to grab the husband's hand, go in for the handshake. Something happens, or I don't know, whatever's going on. And a wife sometimes will say something like this: oh, he knows his place. Or maybe the little babies are there and there's a little commotion with the babies and she starts focusing on this or something like that. And a wife will say something like this: oh, he knows my babies come first. Hey, listen. No, they don't. Do you know why a ton of divorces don't happen 3 years into a marriage? They happen at age 60. I'm a pastor. I see this all the time. The marriage starts and the wife is making the husband the priority, and there is lots of sexual blessing happening for him. Okay, that's what happens early in the marriage. Then kids come along, and all of a sudden she prioritizes the kids over the husband. Now the kids get her best energy. She's too tired for fun or intimacy. Well, then the husband gets jealous. Jealousy just means somebody's in my place and the kids are in his place. So because she's prioritizing the kids over him, he prioritizes his career over her. And then, oh, whoops, the kids grow up and they go to college, and all of a sudden they figure out, oh, dang, the thing that our whole marriage was just about the kids. The kids just left, and the thing our marriage was about is now gone, and they get a divorce at age 60. That's how you do it. So wives, the way you use your body, your best energy, how you present yourself, your priorities should communicate, nobody's more important than my man.
Wow. Let me know in the comments what y'all think about that one. Listen, the late Vody Bacham, may he rest in peace, he used to say, if you can't say amen, say ouch. And I believe this is one of those moments, right? Genesis chapter 2, verse 24 says, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. That's the marriage covenant. That's what he's talking about when you say that you're one flesh with your spouse, your husband, and not your kids. So husband and wife are one, not husband and kids, not wife and kids. Now, I do want to bring a little balance here because that was completely directed to women, but it's not just wives. You know, husbands, they got a role too. Ephesians 5 say, husband, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. And so there is a call for sacrificial love, right? But the principle of what he's saying is still biblical and true. You two are one flesh. And I believe if couples actually believe that and operated that way, then it would be a lot less divorce, right? Now, here's why I think parents put their kids first, right? I think it's because you feel like my kids are my own flesh and blood. No matter what happens, they're going to always be my children. They're going to always be my family. Nothing is going to change that. But see, God already told us that your wife or your husband or your spouse is your flesh now. You are one flesh. And when you put the kids first, you're actually showing you don't fully believe what God say about marriage. Now, I get it. We live in a sinful world and divorce is real. I've actually experienced this myself where you're in a relationship and things are going one way, and when the kids come, priorities shift and change. And so it may look like that the husband or even the wife is being put on the back burner to everything else, and that does tear marriages apart. And we know that statistically most marriages don't last. But if couples had the mentality of this person is my family forever, no matter what happens, we're one flesh and I'm not walking away, then I feel like things would be different, especially if both partners felt that way. Now, here's what I personally seen though. Parents, a lot of times the mothers will stick by their children through almost anything, right? You see it all the time, whether there's murderers on trial, there's killers in prison. And when these situations happen, people know that they can always count on their mother. Who's sitting right there in the courtroom? Their mama. And even when the world turned away from this person, they could still turn to their mom, and that mom is still gonna call their son my son. And a lot of fathers do this as well. It's not just the mothers, but I want to give a personal example. Be a little transparent here. You see, I personally grew up not knowing my dad because my mom feared for her safety. She feared for our safety. You know, my dad kidnapped her when she was a teenager, tied her up, abused her, locked her in closets, beat her the whole nine. And when she finally got away, she stayed away. Later on, couple years later or so, he ended up unaliving his girlfriend. He tried to do the same thing to her friend, had a shootout with the police, and he spent most of my life in prison. And he eventually ended up dying in prison. Now, I never got to meet him, but I did meet his mom, my grandmother. I met her when I was older. My wife, the private investigator, was able to find her, right? And here's one thing that always stood out because I always heard stories about my dad. I actually talked to my uncle and my aunts before I met my grandmother. But when I talked to my grandma, she didn't really want to talk about the ugly sides of my dad. It was almost like she didn't need to believe it, or she wanted to make it seem like it didn't happen, or it just hurt her too much. And so when we talked about his death, and the police report says it was suicide, she feels like the guards actually harmed him because of, or killed him because of some different things that was going on that I won't get into here. But it wasn't like she was trying to make excuses for him or anything like that, but you can tell that in her eyes, that was her son, her baby, and she did not want to portray him in a negative way when talking to me. Now, again, when I talked to my uncle, the vibe was completely different. He told me straight out certain things, what my dad had done and how he acted, and admitted that it was wrong, right? And even though he said there was certain type of trauma in his life that may have caused it, but he didn't deny that some of the things that my dad did was just pure evil. And see, that's the difference there, right? You know, to my grandmother, that was still her baby. She carried a love for him, and she's never gonna let that go. And it doesn't matter what he did and how he acted, that is always gonna be her son. And even when the world only saw his crimes and his bad side, my grandma saw her son, her own flesh and blood, and that would never change. And here's my point. You see, that kind of grace that most parents have for their kids, they don't have that when it comes to their marriage. They don't carry that same spirit when it comes to your spouse. You see, your child can deeply wound you, right? And you're still going to say, I'm their parents. But if your spouse hurt you, you like, I'm out. That's it. We're getting a divorce. It's over. And we cannot think that way, right? If marriage is supposed to be one flesh and one covenant and not a contract, then the love and grace that you would show your own children should be the same grace that you show to your spouse. And that doesn't mean ignoring abuse. That doesn't mean staying in a dangerous situation where you're being abused or anything like that. But it does mean living with a posture of forgiveness, a commitment and covenant. And because it is a covenant between you, your spouse, and God. So think about it like this. If your kids mess up, and they mess up all the time, no matter what they do, they're still your kids. You forgive them, you keep loving them. And so we need to carry that same spirit into our marriages. We need to carry that same grace into our marriage. And the truth of the matter is, not putting your kids first is actually in their best interest. Kids need to see mom and dad united. They need to see strength in marriage. They need to see that you all are a team and they can't play you against each other. This actually gives them security, and it teaches them what real love looks like. So yes, wives, respect your husbands, and husbands, love and respect and have that sacrificial love for your wives, because marriage is one flesh. And when we think like that and live like that, then the whole family wins. And so I just wanted to leave you with that, because it may be a harsh teaching to hear that you're not supposed to put your kids above your spouse, but it happens all the time. And I believe that is why we have so many divorces, because we're not looking at marriage like you're one flesh, that you're actually truly family and you're a part of each other. Because just like your child is going to always be your child, the original intent that God had was for your spouse to always be your spouse. And so it's a mind shift. If we transform our mind, if we renew our mind and not be conformed to this world, things will be a little bit different for us. Until next time. Peace.
Yeah, I tell the truth. Pull up in tanks, just me and the troops. This ain't nothing new. Yeah, T getting smaller, we down to a few. When you see us, salute us. I've been in the water with shots, been recruiters and ears. Life getting real. Off with the lights, but we bet the city on heels. Closer to God, I just gotta be. When I wasn't, my thoughts.